At everyone. Oh, geez. Okay. Hi, Pluto. How are you today? Hi, Dion. Hi, Wasababi. Why are you apologizing for going to Tennessee? No, that's a separate thought. I went to Tennessee. An apology. How to identify fish. Hello, Eduardo. Suop, Metal Mori, Mr. Nivid, Glasses, Darko, Garlic Flower, Sniffer. Vixicats, where in Tennessee? Oh, all over. Don't worry, I will bring you through that. I will tell the whole story and show you all of the cool, crazy fish that I caught. Speaking of which, I should probably get that up. Carno, hi. I need help. I need the Discord link. Do exclamation point Discord. Also, it's in the description of every video I've ever posted. All right, let's see. Your observation. Show me what you got. Show me what you got. I believe there were 3 pages. We've got a really awesome aquarium in Chattanooga. I went through Chattanooga on a previous trip. I made an AVNJ's Adventures about it, but... Hi, Fossilized Teeth. How are you? Are you okay? You sound tired? Is it just that my voice is deeper? Because I just woke up. The Discord link says invalid and expired. This one here says invalid. I just clicked it and it opened the Discord. I just clicked the link in chat and it opened the Discord. So I don't know what to tell you. Click the link in the chat that someone put up. No streams for me anymore. Been sent to the psych ward. See y'all in a few weeks. Oh, okay. Bye, Aram. All right. Firebelly, that was the first day. And you check the ban list. Well, if you were in there before and you're not allowed in there now, you're banned. I don't know how else to explain that. You think you got unrightfully banned? Oh God. Okay. Do we really want to? For typos? Okay. Let's see.
Yes, it's Fish o'clock.
Hi, Picari. Thank you. All right. Well, you know what? Sure. Let's divert from stream to see if this person in chat actually got banned unfairly, unrightfully. I cannot wait to see. First things first. Let's make sure that they are in fact banned. Ah, look at that. All right. They are in fact banned. Ban reason, too many infractions. Oh, that's interesting. Let's find out why. What could they have done to get too many infractions? Luckily, we keep a log of all of these things. Okay, well, that did not take very long. You're used to starting with, and then the beginning of a slur. I got a bad word usage for saying, and then a slur, and then you got automatically banned by the bot. I don't know if I'd call that typos, man. I think that's on you. Good luck with that. All right, anyways. Shall I begin the stream? Typos. Yeah, typos. He said, did you unban me? Alright, man. You know, I'm gonna take him out back. I'll get out the shotgun. Just put him down. Alright. Anyways. Let me get my phone out because I had notes on what I wanted to talk about with Tennessee. Alright. All right, good morning, everybody. That damn keyboard making them say slurs like that. Keyboards always be acting up, man. They don't have your best interests at heart. It's for real, it's true. Okay, shall we begin the stream, everybody? First thing I want to do is tell you about a beautiful adventure that took place last week. I went down to Tennessee. I visited a friend there who's a biologist working on becoming a state botanist there. And he took me around to catch and find as many species of fish as I possibly could. And I've been through Tennessee before, but I did really poorly in terms of catching fish. And I didn't record footage while I was there for an AVNJ adventure, so I thought that I would show you all the images and recant it as I went along. So, let's start. The very first thing we caught, scarlet shiner. I ended up catching a better one of these. That's this. We also caught rainbow darter. If you've never seen a rainbow darter before, you might think they're pretty. I find them to be quite ugly. I kind of hate rainbow darters because I guess I see them so often. They stay colorful all year long. These like red scales and everything. They stay colorful all year long. So they look beautiful to people. I kind of hate them because I see them so damn often. Buffalo darter. This is just basically the same thing as the rainbow or orange throat darter, but it has this hump on top of it. It's a recent split. People tend to like that one as well. The first day we went to Bojangles. I don't know if any of you guys live in the South, and I think they're trying to bring Bojangles up. I think there's one in eastern Pennsylvania, so I may go at some point. But man, I've made fun of Southern food a lot, but Southern biscuits go hard. Southern biscuits are really good. A biscuit, egg, and cheese from Bojangles in the morning was perfect. I got this guardian darter, which is a type of spot tail darter. There's a lot of those. Rosy side dace, those are everywhere. I got a western creek chubsucker, which I have eastern and lake creek chubsucker, so this added another species for me, and I was like kind of on the edge of its range there. Pretty. Yeah, I did hear they're trying to bring Bojangles to New Jersey. I'm no longer against it. I got a long-ear sunfish. This bandfin darter was reasonably pretty. Got like the nice red along the side. It's not as colored up as they get, but basically the theme of this trip was beautiful darters. Just as many beautiful fish as we could come across. The first night we went for a karst cavefish, which is a fish that normally lives in caves but will come up through the springs sometime into these like shallow areas with mud. And unfortunately it was a bit too dry, and also I think the mud was trying to eat me. So I like tried to walk out onto this muddy area, and the first step, it's like, okay, I'm this much into the mud, not a big deal. Second step, I'm like this much into the mud, and I'm like, okay, well surely it ends there. Third step, it goes up to like here, and I'm like, okay, nope, we're good. I'd rather have my life than catch this cavefish. So I decided to not catch the cavefish that night because it was so damn muddy. I still tried around for a while. There were like 2 logs, and I sort of straddled them a little bit to see how far out I could reach to try and catch the fish. Didn't manage to catch the cavefish. Yes, I did not meet my demise in a Tennessee bog, which sucks because that was like the fish I wanted the most out of the fish that I was targeting there. So it's slightly unfortunate that I did not manage to get it, but it's okay. I'll get it in the future. One of my like bucket list fish things is I want to see all of the American cavefish. I believe there's 7 or 8, and those two, the spring cavefish and the karst cavefish, are the only ones that you can get on the surface. Oh, and then swampfish. The other ones are all like, I have to go into a cave, so that'll be an adventure. Yeah, I'll bring a submarine next time. I got a speckled darter. This is like the archetype of the ones that are named after all the presidents. I don't know if I've told you guys before about the presidential darters, that at the Estoma, Jimmy Cartery and Obama and so forth and so forth. I may have caught one. We'll see later in the discussion. But this is like the type specimen. This is basically what got split, and they named a bunch of them after presidents and such. Another bandfin darter, not particularly pretty. Firebelly darter. These guys are decently pretty. Bright eyes are decently pretty. Firebelly darter get a lot more colored up in this. I think I even caught a more colored up one later in the day. They're quite cool. Bright Eye Darter, this is a really pretty one. I really like this guy. Unfortunately, I had something slightly on the face of the tank here. This would have been a wonderful photo. It's also rare that you get like green as much so in darters. It's a less common color. Blue, I think, is the most uncommon color. Also caught a few different types of Mad Toms. Just cute little catfish guys, you know, that will stab you and poison you. Or envenomate you, I guess is the correct term. Plus the biggest Mad Tom I've ever seen. I've seen some big margin Mad Toms, but this brown Mad Tom was really big. Here's a more colored up Fire Belly Darter. This is basically more so what they look like. I mean, it's not nearly as pretty as they get. The theme that I noticed is all of the snub nose darters, the guys who have like a ending nose, didn't cooperate super well in the photo tank. I mean, his fins are up, but it's not like amazing. Everything's not out. They like to sit on the bottom, basically, which makes sense. I got a Dusky Darter, which is a common one, but it's quite cool. I really love this genus of Persina. They don't get particularly pretty, but I just love Persina, and they're always so cooperative in the tanks. A few other things, nothing particularly pretty. I started learning about freshwater mussels, so I got a few of those, and I may be doing a video on freshwater mussels soon, so that's cool. Small scale darter. This is a pretty one. He's kind of on the fat side. I love this like tail coloration with the red and the yellow and then the blue edge. There's a lot of depth to color in the tail, and then how evenly spaced out the singular scales. Like, how does this evolve? This is so crazy to me. Just a bunch of brown scales in a row, and then there's one scale that's red. And then they've got this like nice, I don't know, coloration on the cheek. They're very cool. I like the small scale darter a lot. Redline darter, everyone finds those really pretty. This is not a great picture. I took greater pictures later, but they're just very pretty in general. Blotch chub, that's a cool one. One of the Aramai stacks, just a cool fish in general. Warioto darter. So this was my first presidential darter. This is Ethystomia Gore, after Al Gore, who was a presidential candidate but didn't end up being a president. And we fished for like 60 minutes looking for this fish, you know, dip netted around. And then we gave up and we're walking back to the parking lot. And I was sort of dragging my net through the water, like right as we went up onto the sand my last time. And I managed to pick this guy up. It was literally the last fish that we caught at the site. And at the next site, we caught my favorite crayfish I've ever seen, the hillbilly hairy crayfish. That's actually what it's called, hillbilly hairy crayfish, and it's got these hairs on all the claws, which is super odd. I picked it out of the water, and Jared was like, "Oh yeah, the hillbilly hairy crayfish. How could anybody forget that?" Yeah, no, it literally is hairy. Apparently, there's multiple species of like hairy crayfish. Probably a sensory thing, but this specific guy you'll see is very range restricted to a small area in Tennessee. I got tons of more crayfish while I was there. Sculpins, my first southern red belly dace, pretty cool. They would be crayfish probably. I caught a lot of crayfish, Cornelius. Diamondback spittlebug is cool. That was a random thing that was on the photo tank. Blenny darter, this is one I liked, and then a prettier red line. Blenny darters are cool. It looks like a blenny, but it's a darter. It's just the coloration. It's pretty cool. And then this is just a prettier, this is just a prettier red line darter. Again, I didn't take great pictures of red line darters because I've caught a ton of them before. So I didn't even put any in the tank, I don't think. Then I got a bunch of plants because Jared knows plants very well, and he pointed at a cliff and he went, "There's a bunch of rare plants on that cliff." And I said, "Sir, yes, sir." And I went over to the cliff and I took as many pictures as I could. On the way to this, by the way, we ran into a tractor migration. I don't think I've ever been in a place that is so southern that I ran into, there were 10 tractors in a row on this small like farm road going, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 miles per hour, all in a line. But there was like enough space for a car in between each one barely. So we would drive around one, get in front of the next, drive around one, get in front of the next, drive around one. And we had to do that like 10 times. I think the tractors were migrating to their homeland, or it was some sort of ritual. I don't really know what was going on or why that would happen. That is the first page. Tractor conga? Yeah, maybe it was a celebration. I don't know. There's a lot of possibilities. All right, this is the day where I started to really look at mussels, but we'll get into that. Fantail darters, everyone knows those. Copper cheek. Copper cheek is basically just a small scale darter, but in a different area. So the same idea with Coloration on the tail is a little bit different, and then more red on the cheek. And then you've got these red spots that seem to sometimes come in pairs. I don't know if that's a consistent thing, but they're also quite pretty. Yes, I do love muddles. I do love muscles. Here's my muscle expenditure, as Jared pointed me out a bunch of muscles. Some of these are quite rare. Let's see if I can find it. It might be further up. Oh yeah, this guy, purple cat's paw. This is the federally endangered one. It has like, yeah, it's federally endangered, and it has 3 observations on iNaturalist. One of them is Jared, and one of them is me, of the same one. So prior to Jared and I each taking a photo of one, there had never been an observation, or there had been one observation of purple cat's paw on iNaturalist. There's a lot of really cool ones. There's Duck River Darter Snapper in here as well. That's probably towards the top. That's a mussel that like holds on to darters and lays its eggs in their gills, so the darters bring the mussel eggs up. Oh, here you go. Upstream a bit or downstream and just spread them, and that's endemic to just the specific river that we were in. Very cool. That's how most freshwater mussels reproduce. We got a golden darter. This guy's very tiny. You can't really tell scale from the photo, but he's like this big, like one of the tiniest darters I've ever caught, and apparently that's pretty close to their max size. Duck darter, green side darter, never fail to surprise me with how massive they get. These darters are just freaking big, dude. The darter takes up my whole hand, especially compared to the last darter, which is this big. A darter that covers my whole hand is crazy. Green side darters always shock me with how gigantic they get. More copper cheeks. More cool mussels. Got a mountain mad tom, which is cool. Mosquito fish. We stopped at this parking lot where we were at a national forest, okay? And we stop at the parking lot, and we're gonna go to the river, okay? No, iNaturalist covers the whole world, Pluto. You can look at anything from any area. It doesn't just have to be the USA. There's probably tons of observations in the UK. I'll take a brief little aside, but here. If I go to explore, we go to the map, there's observations literally across the whole world. The only places missing observations are like the center deserts of Africa and China. But yeah, if you want to go to the UK, you can see that if I just highlight the UK here, there are 4.2 million observations of almost 20,000 different species in the UK. So yes, there's plenty to look at, and you can use it as well and find cool stuff. Speckled darter again. Oh wait, so anyways, so we stop at this river, and right in front of the parking lot, the opposite direction of the river, there's like this big down muddy slide thing into sort of like a cave. It's not a cave because it doesn't go like deeper into the rock, but it's a big rock overhang and you can go under it. And I was like, oh wow, that looks pretty cool. And Jared was like, well, there could be salamanders in there if you want to look. And I said, sure. And I got probably the best photo I will ever take of a cave salamander sitting in this little crevice. He is so adorable and beautiful. This was like a one take. I didn't sit there for a while trying to get a great photo. I pointed my camera, I took a picture, and then I walked out, and it came out amazingly. Yeah, he's a really pretty cave salamander. So that was really cool that I just went down in this little mud pit. I got my shoe covered in mud. I have a photo of that. What camera do you use? Primarily, I have a bird camera for zoom, but primarily I use an Olympus TG6, I believe. Yeah, TG6. It's very tough, and it's an underwater. So works very well for what I do. I got an Alabama shiner, which is a cool Alabama only Cyprinella. Oh yeah, that's right. We went through Alabama as well. So we sort of like started in Tennessee and then worked our way down through Alabama and then back up. Got a black banded darter, which is another nice Persina. Western blacktail shiner, some of the most popular ones in the West. Warrior darter, this one's quite cool. He's not as pretty as they get, but he's got some cool colors, definitely. I love the orange on the edges of the fins. Alabama hogsucker, this completed the genus for me. I got an Alabama hogsucker. He's got such a giant eye. So this is the genus Hypentelium. There are 3 species in the genus Hypentelium, which is the northern hogsucker, the Alabama hogsucker, and the Roanoke hogsucker, and I've now observed all 3 of them. So I've completed the genus. If you were doing Pokemon, it's like I've completed the evolution, I've completed the region, whatever you want to call it. Tuscaloosa darter. I don't think I took very good pictures of Tuscaloosa darter, but another, I think, green breast type darter. I got a northern slimy salamander in a cave thing, but he's, you know, curled up in a ball. I'm 23, Pluto. I got a zigzag salamander under a log. It's quite cool. And then I got a green salamander, but he was so far back in the crevice and my camera is not made for this. But if you look, you can see his eye and then his body right here. So I did find a cool salamander, and this is like one of the more rare ones. This is the one we were looking for, but he was like so deep in this crevice that it was really hard to get him in focus. Because the only downside, this is an amazing camera, but it doesn't have manual focus. So the camera just focuses on, like, you know, it blurs whatever it thinks is best. And when you're pointing it at like a rock face, it can do a bad job of that, basically. Got some striped tail darters, a black fin darter. Flame chub is cool. Oh, I got jump scared by woodcocks. There's a bird called a woodcock, and it was just sitting on this pile of leaves that was covering the stream, because the stream's covered in leaves right now because it's fall. And I never saw it. It was like perfectly camouflaged in until I got within like 2 feet of it, and then it went and flew away, and it jump scared me. It scared the crap out of me. And then like 10 minutes later, I'm going the opposite direction down the same stream, and then I get jump scared by a different woodcock. So I got double jump scared by 2 different woodcocks at the same stream. I swear they were invisible. I never even saw, like, I pan the stream pretty carefully when I'm looking, and I never once saw one. That's pretty funny. Also saw some domestic mallards, which is cool, at this one little area. 2 domestic ones. Yeah, they knew what they were doing. Black-side snubnose. Here's a vermilion darter. This guy is federally endangered, as you can see, federally endangered. And the only stream which he exists in is one small urban stream in Birmingham, Alabama, in a large city in Alabama. You know how we caught this one? We went to a gas station. We caught this fish at a gas station. I went to a gas station parking lot, climbed down into a little urban stream, and caught a federally endangered, beautiful snub-nosed darter. Very cool. There was another darter that we were also targeting in there that I believe was also federally endangered. So we had the capability of catching 2 extremely protected darters in one gas station parking lot, essentially. We moved on. Big water oak, though people seem to disagree with me. This is cool. This is this town called Coldwater. Oh, look, Jared made an appearance. Jared is slightly in the photo. Let's go, Jared. I took a picture of the oak. This was this like tiny town called Coldwater, and as we're in this like tiny stream, okay, doing, you know, trying to catch fish in this stream, we see someone pull by in a car and take a video or a picture of us like out their window. And we have 2 different theories. My theory is like, oh, they're like, oh, there's people in the local stream. That's cool. I'll take a photo of that. Jared's theory is they've called the police and the police are coming for us. And Jared is very worried that the police are going to come and arrest us. And I was like, well, what are they going to arrest us for? It's a public stream. And he looks at me and he goes, we're in Alabama. And I went, fair enough. So we were slightly worried about that. So we got all the fish that we needed and got out as fast as we could. Got a pygmy sculpin, which is one of the most range-restricted fish in the world. It's restricted to just like the upper parts of this tiny stream, and it's this tiny sculpin with a giant eye. Very cute. I got a bronze darter, though I took a better picture of one later in the day. One of the more pretty Persina, as far as that goes. Small town in Alabama is very odd. They definitely called the police. Well, see, that's the thing. I didn't say anything to Jared, but multiple police drove over the bridge after, like over the water, and none of them stopped at the place. So unless they had really bad directions, I don't know. Right as we were on our way out, though, we did catch a brook lamprey, and he sucked onto my hand, presumably to steal my blood, but he didn't have enough time to do so. But this is a very cool fish. So, very, very cool. Least brook lamprey. It was the only species I caught while I was there, but... What's that shell? Some sort of snail. So there was a snail in this stream called the Coldwater Pebble Snail, which was a snail that is endemic, only lives in this one stream, And so we took pictures of the snails that we saw just in case it happened to be that one, but it was not that one. Southern two-line salamander, an adult, is pretty cool. More plants, more sculpins. Tricolor shiner, I caught a really pretty one of those in Georgia. It's in a video. Holiday darter, this might be my favorite fish from the trip. It's just so perfect, the green and red, and I got a pretty good photo of it as well. I'm definitely going to post this on Twitter when it's like around Christmas, Hanukkah time, and happy holidays from the holiday darter. Although there's a Christmas darter, a Halloween darter, and a Hanukkah darter, but this guy covers all the bases. This is the holiday darter. The green breasts were quite pretty as well. I like these guys. They've got, I love the layering of color in the fins that are pretty nice. I got a shadow bass, more green breast. Rainbow shiner. Oh, here's a better picture of a northern slimy salamander, because this one was on the ground, not in a cave. And actually, this one's out of focus, too. Then we found ourselves in this giant river, okay? So we're going to this little stream, and this guy comes along, and he, like, stops on the bridge as we're entering the stream, and he goes, where are you guys local? And we said, well, no, not really. And he goes, well, you can't be in there, whatever. And he like watched us come out of the stream, sat next to our car, waited for us to get in the car and drive away before he left. So he was very protective of whatever was in that stream. It was not private property. We're pretty sure that it was not. We looked at like the public records and everything. So we don't know if that was like his favorite fishing spot or something, and that's why he was protective of it. But anyways, we go to this big river, and we have to go on this crazy adventure to get to the good part in the river, because this river is fairly deep. And the only part where we can find fish are this riffle, this shallow area where the water's flowing super fast. But it's like a quarter of a mile down the river, and there's no good path there. So we wander through the forest for a quarter of a mile to hop down onto this riffle. And Jared told me after, by the way, that apparently we were in alligator territory. Not that they would have been active with how cold it is, but apparently we were far enough south in Alabama that there could have been alligators in this river. And we caught some pretty cool ones. We caught my favorite, the much better bronze darter. I'm very happy with this guy. He's just extremely pretty, and the picture came out really well as well. So there were a lot of these Persina, which are the darters that are adapted for fast water. And my last attempt that I did before, where I'm a huge sucker for fantasy stuff. Anywhere I can find your stuff. I don't know what you mean, find my stuff. Are you not talking to me? Anyways, so the last thing that I tried to do was the riffle came over this like really fast bit over some boulders, and I was like, okay, it is nearly impossible to stand in this water because it's flowing so fast, and it's nearly impossible for me to drag the net in this water, but I'm gonna put everything I've got. It's the last sight of the day, probably one of the last sights of the trip. I'm gonna put my full strength into it. And so I went through the riffle and just pulled as hard as I could, not even sure if the net would hold up. And I caught multiple of these muscadine darters, which are a Persina darter that's just really adapted for crazy fast water. You can see how long they are for that exact reason. We caught a few more fish at a few other spots. Got Cumberland snub-nosed, another northern hogsucker, bedrock shiner, which is quite cool. This is another Natropus, like a really rare Natropus that I got. Very pretty. Looks like some of the ones in New Jersey, but yeah, you can see they're pretty damn range restricted. I think I uploaded 2 photos and Jared uploaded 2. So that makes up almost half of the photos that exist of the bedrock shiner, which is funny. Some more darters. Caught a warmouth. Oh yeah, we go to the very last spot. So we're like, it's, I don't know, a few hours before my flight, and we want one more species, because so far I have caught 68 new species. And we're like, how cool would it be if I could end on 69 new species for this trip? So we're like, we have to find one more fish to get, but we're already pretty close to the airport. So I was like, I looked at iNaturalist and I was trying to find a fish nearby, and the closest thing was a stone darter. And unfortunately, it seemed like the stone darter was in the edge of this gigantic lake. And I was like, well, that seems unlikely. Darters like some sort of flow. So I was like, it's probably just like a one-off where the darter got lost in the lake and someone happened to find it. I was betting that the darter would not be possible, but I was like, well, we might as well try. Let's try to get me my 69th species for the trip. And turns out they're extremely common in that lake. And we caught a bunch of these stone darters with this beautiful like gold scaling on the cheek. They're very pretty for being, so simple. And yeah, There's a nice, I got a prettier flame chub and a prettier cherry darter that morning at this one random stream. Okay, can I stop clicking things I don't mean to? Prettier flame chub and a prettier, oh my god, cherry darter. And that is pretty much it. I believe that is about it for this trip. Yes, orange is very pretty on fish. I do love orange on fish. I believe that is about it for the Tennessee trip. There were a lot of things that happened and a lot of things to mention, so. Tennessee does have some cool fish. I agree to that much. All right. Yes, it was a great trip. It was nice to spend time with Jared and to learn all of the amazing things he has to share. And you can't complain about 5-day trip in Tennessee and finding, yes, so many, not only like so many new species to me, but so many rare fish. Yes, southern fish are quite cool. All right, so next on the agenda, chat. I have two different things. Would you rather me do fish in the news first, or would you rather me teach you all how to identify a fish from scratch? Got some photos, and we're going to, from scratch, learn how to identify a fish. Which would you rather first? There hasn't been a fish in the news in so long. Yeah, and this one's a fun one because we're going to talk about the seahorse predation paper. And you know I have my opinions on seahorses. So it's sort of going to act as like a pseudo, it's great clickbait. It's going to be like, I was wrong with my head in my hands, and it's going to be about how seahorses are great predators, right? But I wasn't wrong. They're still terrible at what they do, but the paper's about seahorse being good predators. And then it's a great clickbait. Like, wouldn't you click on a video where I'm like, I'm so sorry, and I have my head in my hands? Anyways, let's learn how to identify a fish, chat. All right. So what I have done is I have taken an observation for my naturalist, okay? This is all the information that we have, and we are going to learn to identify this fish, okay? If you have a fish and you want to identify it from scratch, this is what we're going to figure out how to do. So let's say you are the person who took these photos. You found this dead fish on the beach, okay? You got a sense of scale with your hand. You get a close-up of the face because maybe you think that that's a unique part of it. And you get a total picture of the body. And then you mark the location that you find it, okay? It was found in this place that I'm not going to try to pronounce in, I believe, Uruguay, okay? So we have a location, which is pretty much the most important thing, and we have a picture of the fish. So we should be able to figure out what this fish is. Now, I have a good idea from the start of what this fish is, but let's say you had absolutely no idea. Let's make some observations about the fish that will help us identify it, okay? What is the most striking feature, chat? What about this fish stands out the most to you? Any answer is okay. If you look at this fish and what takes, yeah, it's long. That's my first observation. Yep, it's long fish, tube, very long, length, great. So you all have the same answer as me. So the main observation that I would make about this fish is that it's long, even eel-like, I might say. And you don't have to know much about fish. And there are a lot of fish that are eel-like but aren't fish. A lot of fish evolve to be eel-like. So that doesn't necessarily mean that it is an eel, but it means that it's long. And that's a pretty unique trait, okay? So that should help us narrow down to what fish we're going to go for. So the first thing I recommend anybody does when you're trying to identify a fish, unless you live absolutely in the middle of nowhere, iNaturalist will be an amazing tool. And even if you do live in the middle of nowhere, you can still make this work, okay? So you go to the Explore tab on iNaturalist. There are 164 million observations in the world, okay? If you go to fish, to the rayfin fishes, which is just all of the fishes basically that will be relevant to you unless you're trying to identify a shark or a ray or something, there are almost 7 million observations, okay? You can find what you're looking for. So we found this fish in Uruguay, right? Well, let's see. There's not a ton of observations of fish. There's a good amount here, but let's say we're not totally sure that it'll be there. So what we can do is we can draw a boundary, okay? And I'm going to select most of the coast here. I'm going to widen my search just in case, okay? We'll get most of the coast along Brazil. We're covering way north and way south of Uruguay. So this should help us basically. We should have enough of a range now where we can find the fish. And this will give us a list of species that have been found in that area. Now, a lot of these are going to be freshwater because I've selected a lot of freshwater. So I'm going to try to minimize that a little bit. A lot of these have been freshwater. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through this list of the species in this area, okay, and use this as our jumping off point, as our options. So let's look for anything that's eel-like. Marbled swamp eel. Sure, let's save that one, okay? Let's see. Who else is eel-like? These guys all look normal. These guys all look normal. There's some very cool fish in South America. Large head hairtail. That's a bad picture, but I do know that these guys are on the long side. So this is a long fish. It's an eel-like fish. Let's see. Common wolffish. This is another eel-like fish. You might have to dig a bit deeper than the original pictures, but these guys are on the long side. I wouldn't necessarily call them super eel-like, but they're on the long side. Argentine conger. We can add that one. Let's see. What other eels have we got? Any other eels? Brazilian flathead seems to be a little bit long, so we'll add that one. Mostly just a bunch of minnows here. This one's long, but it's got a very needle-like beak, but we'll save it anyways, so we can use it as an example to separate it. That's the same thing. Any other eels in the area? Because this will act as our starting list with which to work from. And this should give us, unless you're truly in the middle of nowhere, this should give us a very good idea of what fish that we have to work with. Oh, gold spotted eel, okay. Banded knifefish, sure, why not? Gymnotus. Take a look at that one. And there are a lot of cool fish. Another Gymnotus, sure, why not? Basinichthyes, that's sure, let's look at that. All right, so we have our list of possibilities, okay? We've identified 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 species exactly that this could be in the area, at least, okay? You might have to consider past that once you look at other things, but let's say that there's 10 species in the area that we've found, okay? And we're going to determine which of these it is. So we said the most distinguishing feature about the fish that we were looking at was its length, that it was eel-like. Now we've used the location to find out where we're at, and we've taken the most distinguishing feature. So what do you guys think is the second most distinguishing feature? Just pick anything, okay? Anything we can use to eliminate the fish that are already up there, okay? Let's work our way down from 10 to a fewer amount. So what is the second most distinguishing feature to you guys? Not many fins, okay? That's definitely an observation. The fin, there's not a ton of fins. There probably are fins, but they're sort of folded down. Keep in mind the specimen is dead. Color. So color is an interesting point. Often people try to use color to identify fish. And the reality is, in some fish, color can be a good feature for identification. And in some fish, color is a really bad identification thing because they can change color a ton. And especially a dead fish like this, I wouldn't necessarily trust color. I think that's a good point to make, is that color is probably not something we should go by. Okay, tail shape is interesting. Long face. All right, tail shape, long face, and let's say not many fins, like not very obvious large fins, all right? Let's take those into account and let's look at the fish that we've selected, okay? We'll start with the marbled swamp eel. We'll look at some pictures of the marbled swamp eel, okay? Marbled swamp eel. Is the face long enough? Maybe. It is lacking fins overall. And the other... What was the other feature? Was that tail shape? Okay, tail shape. Probably looks about right. It is a little bit too small, but, you know, things can grow. So we'll keep this here for now, because things can grow. That could just be a picture of a small one. All right, let's look at large head hair tail. Okay, let's find a picture of that. All right, so immediately I'm noticing the face is even kind of longer with sort of like a sharp beak here and some teeth. And look at the tail shape. The tail shape is pointy. Now, our guy didn't have a pointy tail. He had sort of like a rounded tail. So I think we can safely eliminate that guy. Common wolffish. Added this one as a good, distinguisher, but I think we look at this, we say, okay, well, there's a very obvious fin right there. This face is not very long, and this tail is completely wrong, and the body is just way too thick. So we can eliminate that guy, okay? Argentine conger. All right. Sure, let's look at this guy. Well, this guy's got about the right coloration, if you did want to go by that. He's got about the right long snout, and his tail does round. It doesn't come to a point. So this guy's definitely a possibility. A Percophis. Brazilian flathead. Let's look at this. This guy, he does seem to have a pointy tail. He seems to be a bit on the thick side, and his nose is a bit long. Okay? Yeah, see how his bottom jaw comes out even further? So just by the shape of the face can actually help you with a lot of fish. So we can safely eliminate this flathead. Next up, we have this guy, and just immediately looking at the map, we don't even have to look at the fish. We can look at the map here. Notice how this guy is all in the inland, all in freshwater. So although this guy is eel-like, and it is a pretty cool fish, whatever the heck this is, I guess it's a freshwater needlefish, it only exists inland. So this is not going to be something that we find on the ocean where we know that our fish was found. Gold-spotted eel. There's only one observation in the area. But this is a fish where I think color might be pretty useful, as you can see all of the large gold spots on this fish. It's a pretty distinct looking one, and in fact, if we look at all of the pictures on iNaturalist, they always seem to have the gold spots. You're not finding pictures that don't have that, so we can eliminate that. Banded knifefish. Okay, this one's caught pretty close to the coast. It's in freshwater, but, not far into freshwater. But this guy has this sort of like rudder thing along the bottom, this distinct bottom fin. The face is very rounded and the tail is very pointy because it is called a knife fish. So we can probably eliminate this guy. This is another knife fish. We added him just in case, but we can eliminate him as well. And Basinichthyes paulensis. Okay, so this guy he's on the long side. His face looks, it's a little obscured here, but his face looks like it could be about correctly shaped. His length looks about right, okay? The shoe based on the hand that we had in the other picture. He does seem a bit too long, but that can be an age thing. You don't want to go by size unless you know for sure how big something gets. So this is a type of worm eel or snake eel, okay? And then we've got Argentine conger, which is a type of conger eel. And then we've got the marbled swamp eel. Okay. Now, I believe... Oh, no, they're on the coast. Okay, so these are our three fish. So we have gone from a picture and a place and having absolutely no idea what the fish is that we're working with to three possible species, okay? We could have a marbled swamp eel, we could have an Argentine conger, or we could have Basinichthyes paulensis. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is, because there's not a lot of good pictures of this fish on iNaturalist, I'm just going to put this fish into Google so I can look at it more. And I'm immediately going to notice that it seems to always be quite long and worm-like. And that makes sense because they're called worm eels. Also, the face looks like someone put their hand in a sock puppet. And that is not quite what our face of our fish looked like. So I think we can safely eliminate based on how long and stringy this guy is, and then the face looks really dumb. I think we can eliminate Basinichthyes paulensis. Okay, so we're down to an ocean conger versus a marbled swamp eel. So let's take a look at both of those. Okay, and let's try to figure out if there's any distinct difference that we can utilize. Now, the first thing I'm noticing is marbled swamp eels do seem to have some kind of spotting to them generally, but it's not 100% consistent. Some of them just have sort of like a model to it, okay? But they do have some spotting to them. That's interesting, okay? And then Argentine conger. All right, now this guy is more on the stubby side. He doesn't seem to have much of a pattern. It's overall sort of just like a lightish with a brown. All right, is there any distinguishing features in, let's say, the face? This guy has sort of the round snout with a large mouth opening up here. Okay. And Argentine conger seems to have a slightly smaller mouth that opens a little bit less, but that's kind of nuanced. I think that we can look at these two fish side by side, and based on patterning, I think we can do this one. Now, again, you don't want to consistently go with color or patterning because they can be pretty inconsistent. But with these two fish, where it seems like the marbled swamp eel almost always has some marbling to it, you know, some patterning, some spotting to it, and the conger does not. And when we look at our photos here, it doesn't look like it has any spotted patterning to it, okay? It's a little beaten up, that's what all this white is, but the color itself just seems to be pretty stable. Not to mention the face and sort of the thick lips here. I believe that this is a Argentine conger. So after about 15 minutes, and that's with a lot of explaining, you know, if I went about this quickly, I have taken a fish from part of the world that I have never been to, with just some photos of the fish and knowing where it was caught, and gotten all the way down to the absolute species of the fish, conger or Virginius. And there you go. That is how you identify a fish from scratch. That whole process will work with any fish from anywhere. Even if you're working with a fish that's very poorly documented, iNaturalist will give you a good starting off point. You can at least get to genus. And then if you know the genus, you can find books about how to identify the fish within that genus, and that'll help you get down to the species itself. All right. Last thing we have to do is apologize. Oh, ChatGPT is awful at identifying fish. Don't ever give ChatGPT a fish to identify. Please. Spare me that. All right. The last thing I have to do is apologize. Okay. Ooh, voice crack. Let's not start it off with it. Ghost Boy, don't start it off with a voice crack. So, as some of you may know, I have been a firm non-supporter, a firm hater, if you will, of the seahorse. A fish that I feel is truly terrible, just in every aspect of the word, poorly made, okay? Just not a good fish, okay? But unfortunately, it's been brought to my attention that a paper was published about how seahorse are incredible predators and that they're really good at catching fast fish. And so I have to apologize. And I think we need to read this paper together. Okay. According to the headlines, seahorses are terrible swimmers, but great predators. Now, trust me, I had trouble believing this as well. I hate seahorses just as much as the next person. How can something so slow, and they do admit that it's a terrible swimmer, be a great predator? Well, apparently, they have a spring-loaded neck. No, they didn't have sharp teeth all along. They have a spring-loaded neck. So you know how owls can sort of like turn their head all the way around in that creepy way that they do in horror movies? Seahorses can do that in every direction instantly. And apparently fast, you know, little things that they're preying on, these little insects and phytoplankton and zooplankton in the water, are dumb enough to swim right by the seahorse's face. And the seahorse is able to just snap, suck, snap, suck, snap, suck. And they have this suction movement, which of course they put a seahorse in the lab and fed it something. And of course, many fish have this where they can, you know, sort of vacuum in the water around them. But seahorse seem to be particularly good at it. And since they can snap their head so easily, they can basically snap their head around. Now, do I think that this makes seahorses a good predator and this makes seahorses a good evolution? No, absolutely not. Because, hear me out, the food still has to come to them. They can't get the food. They can't even really swim. The food has to land directly in front of them. And okay, if the food lands somewhere within a like range sphere of their head, they can snap their head and suck it up. Fair enough. But that does not make you a good predator, okay? If you are playing a game of tag, right, and you sit down on the ground and you say, all right, if anybody comes within my grabbing range, you're not escaping. I'm going to tag anybody who comes within my range. You're not good at tag, okay? You're not doing a good job of tagging your opponents. You're just being lazy. If you can't move around to catch the things, then I think you're still doing a bad job. So although I do have to apologize that apparently there are some things that seahorses are somewhat good at, I still think seahorses are poorly adapted. And that is the first story today on Fish in the News. Welcome. I'm your host, AVNJ. Let's get right into the fish in the news. First thing I gotta do is First thing I gotta do is go to Google, right? Then I'm gonna Google the word fish, and then I'm gonna go to all filters, news, and let's see what's going on in the news. Eat America's most unwanted fish to save native species, scientists say. Wow, Kopi. I've been thinking about making a video on Kopi for a while now. No, I was not Australian. I was Killer Keemstar. You guys are all uncultured. You did not grow up it's okay. You didn't grow up in the time that I grew up. So, this is something that people have been talking about for a while. The United States government has actually renamed carp because nobody wants to eat carp. They renamed it to Kopi, and they've started this whole project called Kopi, where they're trying to convince people to eat carp under the name Kopi so that people don't think of it like that. But I mean, there's nothing necessarily wrong with it. Supposedly carp isn't a bad food. It does sound like copium. Supposedly carp isn't bad to eat. People don't want to eat it because it's like a trash fish. But people eat catfish all the time, and trust me, the things that catfish put in their mouth, you would not want to know what catfish put in their mouth. And the answer is everything, anything that fits. So the government has started this campaign for Kopi to hopefully get more people to start eating carp, because right now there are just billions of Asian carp throughout all the rivers in the Midwest and in many places in America. And my God, my voice today. And they don't have any real purpose. So the only way that governments can convince people to go out and fish them is by paying them directly for killing the carp, which is a really inefficient system. Ideally, people will deal with it on their own, of their own volition, if you give them some sort of incentive. So the government's trying to make people eat carp. So that's pretty much, I summarized the first story. There's a crab dispute. Okay. Seafood more sustainable. Sure. Steelhead are coming to the Boise River. All right. They're releasing steelhead. Cool. How massaging fish can produce no-kill caviar. Okay. Well, yes. So if fish are loaded with eggs, if a sturgeon is loaded with eggs, you can massage it out of them. I think we've watched a TikTok of someone doing that before. You can massage it out of them. You don't have to kill the fish. The problem is, after you do that, you then have to raise the fish for another long time before it gives the eggs again. And this is still kill caviar, because all of those eggs are not going to be babies, and sturgeon are generally a protected fish that we need to have as many babies as possible go out into the environment. So I don't know if that's great. Oh my God, there's a Hamas article about fish. Well, it's not about fish. It's called The Big Fish That Got Away. Anyways, game and fish stands by not feeding deer herds. Windalco slapped with fish habitat protection order. Why is Stanley Fish teaching fishing chimpanzees found to enjoy termites as a seasonal treat? There's fishing chimpanzees? They use tools to fish? I don't care about their termite treats. Show me how they fish. Although some chimpanzee communities exploit termites all year, including at relatively nearby Gombe Stream, termite fishing there also peaks in the early wet season. Wait, they go fishing for termites? Like they drop something into the termite mound? Oh my God, they drop something into the termite mound and then a bunch of termites grab onto it and then they bring it up and eat it like one of those, what were those necklace candies that you would get at like carnivals and stuff, where it was like on a string and then there were little sweet tart like ring candies on it? Those things were so good, by the way. I haven't had those in a long time. But yes, they fish for termites, apparently. That's interesting. I did not know that that was a thing. I don't know the name, but yeah. Yeah. You guys know what I'm talking about. This winter, fish like a local. My god, the difference in articles about fish is so funny. This winter, fish like a local at Orange Beach. A 2-degree difference in Celsius affecting the spatio-temporal distribution of small demersal fish assemblages in shallow tropical... Like, shut up. Speak like a human being. Can female betta fish live together? We can fish. Provides a unique opportunity for special needs children. That's cool. Special needs fishing learning. We Can Fish is a Coachella Valley, nonprofit that works with special needs children and their families by putting together fun activities focused on fishing. Cool. I participated in something like this. It was like a special needs event, and there's this pond at a hatchery, and they let the kids come in and basically had people teach them how to fish. And they asked me if I wanted to teach them how to fish. Help teach them how to fish. And I was like, well, I would love to do that. Unfortunately, I have never held a fishing rod in my life, and I fear that the child may be better at fishing with a rod than I am. So instead, I helped with like the managing and organizing and everything, because I don't really know how to do that. Fish for Teeth Taco Team. Okay. National Fish and Wildlife announced $140 million in grants. Cool. The museum in Norway can't figure out how its dead fish were painted. Wait, so this museum in Norway has a gigantic fish? Is it a paddlefish? Oh, it's an Atlantic cod. Cool. But they don't know where they were painted. Pigments are finicky, susceptible to suffering and light and alcohol. Unfortunately for dead fish, museums have both. They're really cool. Wow, this is a cool museum. I want to go to this museum. I've never seen such a good... This is something that I really wanted to do for a while that I have not done, is gone to like a museum that has a really good fish collection and get to know, because they usually have someone in charge of the collections there, and get to know that person, because they could show me so many cool records. Like if there was a museum somewhere in New Jersey that has the records of the fish, they probably have a gar in there and a rainbow smelt and other stuff that we haven't seen in New Jersey in like 100 years. Probably be pretty damn cool. All right. Oh, I could do an interview. That's a good point. Why are you saying museum with an A? What am I supposed to say? Museum? Museum? Is that better? I gotta go to the museum. Yes. How about I say it as wrong as possible that appeals to neither of us? Oh, I'm going to the museum. I'm going to the museum later. I'd be so surprised to see a fish museum in New Jersey. Well, there's museums of natural history, and they tend to keep the collections. At the worst, there is the Academy. I think it's in Philadelphia. I think it's Zoological Academy or Academy of Sciences or something like that. And they have records of like every fish in the area for a long time. They're like the experts. So I could potentially do an interview with one of those guys. I actually got information from them. That's how I found the northern iron color shiners in New Jersey. What is going on? I don't think you guys can hear it, but there's been like construction equipment rumbling outside my apartment. Just dum. Museum. All right. Anyways, I believe that is it for today. Correct? All right. Have a good day, everyone. I will see you in probably like a week. There is a cool video going live on YouTube today. I highly recommend you watch it if you have any interest in biology of any sort, no matter what you want to be. It's basically a video that is a tutorial on how to go from middle schooler with no idea what they're doing to professional, successful, and happy biologist in whatever field you want to do, and the various options that you have along the way. It's short, but I think it's very well put together. So hopefully that'll be enjoyable. All right. Yes, it will help you more than your degree. Unironically, it will help you more than your degree, but maybe it'll help your degree help you. Whatever. Bye.